What's going on, guys? Get123 here with more Grand Theft Auto 5, and with Halloween just about 2 weeks away, I think. Let me see, today is the 16th, so yeah, in just a little over 2 weeks, we've got 2 weeks and 1 day until Halloween. You know, this is inspiring me to make a, basically a wish list for things I would like to see added to Grand Theft Auto 5 online for a nice Halloween DLC. As we all know, it's really common for Rockstar to do DLC for holidays. We saw it for Christmas, we saw it for, what else did we see it for? We saw it for Independence Day, we saw it for a bunch of things, and I think that one thing that we'll also see it for is going to be Halloween. But the question is, what exactly are they going to add? What are the possibilities? And what would I like to see added? Well, that's what I'm going to be covering in this video. So there are so many possibilities, so many different directions they could take this, but I think what we're going to do is pick a few things from each category that they usually add, as far as weapons, game modes, vehicles, and things like that. We'll pick a few out of each category, but before we get into that, why don't we start out with the release date? Obviously, this is purely speculation, and as I always say, my guess is just as good as yours, but anyways, it's probably a pretty safe assumption that the Halloween DLC is not going to come out on Halloween Day, you know, it'll probably come out a few days before that, maybe even a week before that, and if you look at the next Tuesdays coming up, because as we all know, DLC is usually released on Tuesdays, we've got Tuesday the 21st and Tuesday the 28th. The 28th seems maybe a little too close to Halloween because the Halloween spirit really starts up before then. So it could be the 21st here in under a week, or maybe the Tuesday after that. But that's my best guess. But okay, now for the ideas that I've got. So how about we start out in the general category, not weapons, not vehicles, just overall gameplay, and maybe a game mode. And I think something that I really want to see, that I was hoping would be added either as like a storyline DLC or something, is of course zombies. This is the most obvious choice that I've been hearing most people say, and I think that zombies running around Los Santos would be completely awesome. Even if they added a new online game mode, like almost kind of like, what's the thing called where you have to survive as long as possible? A survival, is that what it's called? I think that probably is. That would make sense. If they added survival with zombies, almost like Call of Duty style, but you could go in with your friends and just survive as long as you could against zombies. I don't think that would be too hard to put in the game. They've already got most of it programmed. You'd basically just be changing the guys rushing you with weapons to zombies rushing you with, I don't know, more weapons. Or alternatively, I think what would be really neat is if they gave you a survival mode and they put you, instead of like in a scrapyard or something like that, almost in like an alleyway. Something with not much cover, and the zombies are unarmed. They can only kill you with their hands, and you just had to survive as long as you could with a group of friends, and you know, rather than having all these changes in elevation and ladders and things to hide behind, it's just kind of like an onslaught. So I think that'd be really neat, and I kind of have a feeling that we will see something zombie related, but you know, my fingers are crossed for that. Now how about as far as weapons go? Once again, there are a ton of possibilities here. You've got a lot of prolific Halloween weapons, like a machete, chainsaw, anything, an ice pick, anything that you can really think of has probably been used in a gory, bloody Halloween movie. Now, one thing that I do want to touch on is this is something I talked about a long time ago in an episode of GTA 5 Talk, and that is why we probably wouldn't see chainsaws and katanas and things like that added to Grand Theft Auto 5. Like, we had them way back in the day on the PlayStation 2, why can't they add those awesome brutal weapons in GTA 5? And one of the biggest reasons was that the graphics on the PlayStation 2 weren't very good. You know, you were able to swing a machete at somebody or a katana, cut off their head, and basically for the blood effects they just added some red stuff, and it looked good enough. It looked just as good as any other part of the game. But now that we've got this Grand Theft Auto 5 on next gen, to add really detailed chainsaw physics and things like that is suddenly a lot more work. They can't get away with it like they used to in previous Grand Theft Autos. You can't just cut off somebody's head and then have their neck looking all red and a solid color. You know, expectations are just much higher these days. As graphics improve, the effects that go along with them also have to improve, and I think suddenly when you add a weapon that is cutting off people's limbs, you're suddenly adding a whole new dynamic that makes it much more complicated to add into the game and make it look realistic. Because ultimately, I think Rockstar does want an environment in a game that does feel realistic, and if you're running around with a weapon where you're just chopping off limbs and they don't look realistic, well, it's just not going to give the vibes that Rockstar wants it to give. So, having said that, will we see any brutal weapons like that will be, you know, taking the limbs off people? My best guess is probably not. You know, maybe you'll be able to see some sort of stabbing weapon or something like that, but I don't think people will be losing limbs. Maybe there will be a chainsaw, but once again, I kind of doubt it. I'd be leaning towards no on that, but definitely a chainsaw and a machete would be on my Halloween wish list in the weapon department. So up next, I might as well talk about something that I think is going to be a dead giveaway, an obvious thing that will definitely be added to the game, and that is different costumes. Rockstar always adds new clothing and stuff with these DLCs. They add the animal masks, things like that. I think it is just, the most obvious thing they could add for a Halloween DLC is new costumes and things that we can dress up as. So the possibilities, once again, with this one are endless. There's so many possibilities. I say this for everything I talk about, I guess, because they could really take it any direction they wanted to. But I think you'll see a lot of different costumes. Maybe not even all scary ones, maybe even just random ones, like the astronaut costume, kind of like the one who, the guy who walks around the Hollywood area or whatever, the movie set area. Pretty much any costume you can think of, they could really add. Zombie masks, goblin masks. Actually, I think there already is a goblin mask. But pretty much any scary mask that you've ever seen, they could put into the game. So I think that costumes will absolutely be in there. Maybe even superhero costumes, like the fictional superheroes of GTA 5. Obviously, no copyright infringement on Superman or anything like that. So there will definitely be costumes. I would say like 99% chance of that. So lastly, to wrap it up, we'll talk very quickly about vehicles. I think one thing that they could start by doing that really I do want to see is more skins, more paint jobs for the Liberator monster truck. The first thing that came into my mind was, of course, Gravedigger, the really famous monster truck that, you guys have probably all seen it, either pictures of it or videos of it at some point. Gravedigger is, the whole death theme on a monster truck. Now, obviously, they couldn't copy Gravedigger exactly because, once again, copyright infringement, but I would really like to see more paint jobs added and maybe some Halloween-themed ones as well. One with, the Grim Reaper on the side of it or something like that. I think the fact that they haven't done that yet actually surprises me. Why would they add a monster truck with only one skin? I feel like it would be so easy to switch it up. So maybe they'll do that in the future. I really hope they do. Besides that, I think they could do a few good upgrades to the hearse, if not add a new kind of hearse. Because as we know, the hearse, that's the vehicle that carries the coffins to funerals and things like that. They're in the game, but they're not that great. You can't do too much to them. You can kind of customize them a little bit, but I think they could do better with that. And lastly, I think the thing that I wanted to mention was a blood splatter paint job. I think that'd be cool if you could go to Los Santos Customs and get like red paint splattered on your car, maybe in the front of it, the back of it, the sides, wherever you want it really. And, just for the spooky, scary Halloween theme. So I think that really wraps it up. Like I said, this is basically a wish list and kind of my ideas, not necessarily my predictions, but what I would like to see added. Please tell me what you would like to see added in the comments below. I'm very curious to see what Rockstar does with this, and I would love to know what you guys think. So with that, please stay tuned for more videos in the future. I will see you next time. Ooh, spooky!